We're seeing the scale and pace of AI technology innovation outpacing the ability of regulatory frameworks to manage. If we look at ChatGPT as a capability, for example, it feels like yesterday it launched in November of 22, yet if you were to go back and play with ChatGPT, you'd find it unsatisfying in every way. It couldn't handle image and video, hallucinations were robust, it had no chain of reasoning. It was just a model that needed a lot of work. Here we are 3 years later, we've got advanced models that can do all of those things at extremely high levels of performance, but I would argue if you were to look at the pace of AI regulation, it hasn't kept up with the speed and pace of the technology innovation. So it is a challenge for AI governance. It's how you keep governance ahead of technology as the technology innovates and improves. There's a number of questions as institutions and organizations think about bringing agents into their workflows. One of those questions is, to what degree do you want those agents to operate autonomously versus to what degree do you want a human involved in decision making? There's no way to really answer that question unless you're thinking of things at a workflow level. What are the stakes of the decision the AI is making? What are the degrees of trust you need in AI performance? So as institutions begin to evolve and they get out of the space of thinking of AI as a consumer-like capability where if we give ChatGPT to our workforce, we've integrated AI, that's true, but it's also not complete. They're going to be institutions, organizations, companies, government organizations are going to be looking at agents as part of their process, right? How do I reap the economic benefits from AI integration? As a part of that, these agents will run, and then they'll have really hard governance questions about what that means. What guardrails do I need to put on the agents? What capabilities do the agents need to be operating at in order to make a decision on their own? What decisions can they make? How do we authenticate an agent? How do we bring cybersecurity into the space for agents operating within our networks? You can think of an agent as yet another employee of the company, right? That's what agency means. It operates with the authority of a human. So if that's the case, how do we bring in all the safeguards and controls for human behavior to now something that's operating in my network as an agent? So it's a space where I think we really need to do a lot of iteration and work with companies and with government organizations to understand how this all works, and it's going to be iterative over time. I'm very reluctant to use the term trust when referring to AI. I think it, in some cases, humanizes AI when AI is not a human technology. The leader of the Department of Defense's Joint AI Center used to say the phrase you want is justified confidence, which is different than trust. Trust is earned between human beings. Justified confidence means you can understand, right, and you know, sometimes numerically, what the AI output looks like. That's done through rigorous study of the technology, applying it, and using data to understand its strengths and weaknesses. And then justified means that you've invested in that, right? That you've got those frameworks in place. I greatly prefer justified confidence to trust. How do organizations get to this problem of justified confidence, which I think is your question? The first is they need to take it seriously. They need to have the appropriate test and evaluation. Oftentimes people want to outsource that to the model layer of your AI stack. I've got a model that runs in my network, and if I understand the performance of that model, I can therefore base justified confidence on that performance. That doesn't work when you actually apply AI to some kind of workflow, because there can be workflows where a low level of AI performance, something that's more R&D, something that's more cutting edge, is necessary to achieve objectives. And there are some use cases that are particularly sensitive where you need very high levels of performance. So I do think it's very important for people and agencies to not abstract and make the performance of the AI the question on AI justified confidence within a workflow in their organization. To be the CEO of a company, the head of AI at a major corporation, the agency lead, we're in a very challenging time. We're in a very challenging time because these technologies are ubiquitous and they're widely available, and institutions are feeling great pressure, whether that pressure is to improve performance, whether it's competitive pressure to maintain a lead in their industry, whether it's bottoms-up demand from their workforce. They're under tremendous pressure to bring AI to bear. And so I have great sympathy for those organizations that want to move fast. However, organizations also want to move responsibly, right? And I think there are people who want to sit back and maybe let the first movers make the mistakes, and they can be a second mover with AI. and they can really learn from those mistakes where they failed to appropriately govern and integrate the technology for the fast movers and come in a little bit later. My advice to an organization that's thinking about this is to pick one or two pilots or use cases, one or two workflows that are most meaningful to your organization that involve artificial intelligence, and really own at an executive level the delivery of those services with AI. Build the workflow, understand the data that's required to make the workflow work, understand what models you're using, demand transparency, and the AI layer, what model are you using, what are its performance characteristics, and then measure rigorously performance and improve over time, and do it within the sandbox or the environment of that individual workflow. As you get that moving, then you'll be able to build the environment, the back end, the trust, so that you're able to bring AI to more and more use cases across your company or institution.